2D Mario games are some of the most well-known, recognizable, and iconic video games ever made. The classic titles Super Mario Bros. 1, 3, and World are recognizable just from their iconic sprites alone, but also for the profound impact they had on the 2D platformer genre and just video games in general. And the new Soup games are memorable for bringing that genre to a whole new generation of people and creating nostalgic memories that will last them forever. But after the release of New Super Luigi U in 2013, 2D Mario went pretty silent. Sure, we had Mario Maker 1 and 2, but those were just level creators that used pre-existing game styles and didn't really introduce much new. However, on June 21st, 2023, just 2 days after Luigi U's 10th anniversary, marking 10 years since the last new 2D Mario, Nintendo shocked everyone with the announcement of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. A completely brand new 2D Mario experience, separate from all other games that came before it. And now, only just a few months after its announcement, it's finally out, and has been released to universal acclaim. So, let's see what makes it so great. My name is Mariomikester, and welcome to a Super Mario Bros. Wonder retrospective. Released on October 20th, 2023, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is an absolutely beautiful return to the creativity and innovation that put 2D Mario on the map in the first place. After years of the series being dormant and, well, stale following the New Soup series, Nintendo wanted to do something different to ensure that the series' return actually meant something, and prove to everyone that the inventor of 2D platformers was still the king of the genre. So, after the release of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in January of 2019, Nintendo's strongest development division, Nintendo EPD, began work on a completely original 2D Mario experience. One that would be separate from all other entries before it, and one that would definitely not be sporting the word new in the title. And in order to make sure this game was as unique as it possibly could be, the team was given absolutely no deadlines on when it was to be finished. No deadline on a prototype demo, no deadline on the game's main concepts, just complete and utter freedom over how long they had to work on the game. So, with no deadline in sight, early into development, the team sat down and had an idea sharing session in order to come up with various unique and innovative ideas that would surprise players and keep them engaged. A strategy commonly used during the early stages of development for 3D Mario games. During this session, the team had a ton of fun brainstorming, and eventually ended up with over 2,000 ideas written down on sticky notes, with longtime Mario series composer Koji Kondo even pitching in a few ideas of his own. But as productive as this idea session was, a lot of the ideas the team came up with were a bit more on the wacky side, even for Mario, and weren't things they could simply implement randomly in a level and have fit in. I mean, ideas like slithering pipes, singing piranha plants, stretchy Mario, and waves of stampeding bulls proved to be pretty hard to implement without it seeming like Mario had gone on an acid trip or something. So, how did they solve this problem, you ask? They gave a reason for Mario to go on an acid trip. Yes, very early into development, the team realized that if they were truly going to be able to implement all the ideas that they wanted to, they were going to have to fully lean into the wackiness of them. So, in order to do so, they created an item that would be hidden in every single level that would drastically change it when collected, allowing any and everything to happen. This item would eventually go on to become the Wonder Flower, the flower that allowed all the team's wacky ideas to come to fruition, and one of the main gimmicks that would be crucial in setting this game apart from its predecessors. Upon starting the game for the first time and selecting your character, you're greeted with an opening that's honestly pretty different from what we're used to. Of course, you've still got Bowser as the main bad guy, but instead of kidnapping Peach, this time he sets his sights on Prince Florian's Wonder Flower and transforms himself into a giant castle. However, instead of doing this in an attempt to take over and conquer the Mushroom Kingdom like we're used to, he does it to try and take over a brand new kingdom introduced in this game, the Flower Kingdom, a neighboring kingdom to the Mushroom Kingdom. And so, with Prince Florian's Wonder Flower stolen by Bowser and his kingdom in danger, Mario and friends, who originally were just meant to be visiting the place, decide to team up with Prince Florian in order to save the Flower Kingdom from Bowser.
I believe in you!
For a 2D Mario opening, this is honestly pretty decent. I mean, it's nothing special, but then again, it doesn't have to be. The new setting of the Flower Kingdom is a great change of pace, especially since it's the first time a 2D Mario hasn't been set in the Mushroom Kingdom since Super Mario World's release over 33 years back in 1990. And I absolutely love that instead of kidnapping Peach for the 88th millionth time, Bowser tries something different, leaving her alone and allowing her to actually be a playable character. In the end though, this opening does a great job at setting the tone of the adventure, introducing the new kingdom, the Wonder Flower, and the fact that Bowser has turned himself into a giant head castle thing. Speaking of the Flower Kingdom though, despite being right next to the Mushroom Kingdom, this place is vastly different from it, and actually feels like a brand new location and not just some excuse by Nintendo to sell us on the game by saying it's a different kingdom. They did an excellent job in almost every department showing us how distinct this place is. It has unique level themes we've never seen before, brand new set pieces, its own currency and residence in the form of the purple coins and poplins. But above everything else, the thing that stood out the most to me, and the thing that really made the Flower Kingdom feel fresh, is the absolutely insane amount of new enemies that inhabit it. When I was playing through this game for the first time, it felt like I was being introduced to a brand new enemy I'd never seen before in almost every level. Not including different forms or bona fide versions of pre-existing enemies, there are just about 35 brand new enemies introduced in this game, and over 60 if you count their different forms. I am not joking when I tell you that there are more new enemies introduced in this game than old ones, and I absolutely adore it. Plus, these new enemies aren't just palette swaps or reskins of pre-existing enemies that do the same things as them. They have very unique designs and function in incredibly cool new ways. Take the Mama, for example. This tadpole-like enemy may look cute at first, but once anything gets close to it, it opens up its giant mouth and runs toward it at full speed in an attempt to eat it. The game takes advantage of this enemy pretty well too with one of the Wonder Flower effects, where you're turned into a Goomba and can't jump to avoid the Mamas, so they become a lot more dangerous, forcing you to be stealthy and hide in the bushes from them. Or just look at the tailies. These enemies hang from the ceiling, dropping spike balls down at the player. However, if you jump at the vine that hangs down from them, you can swing on it and defeat them. Along with this, if there's multiple of them in a row, you can chain defeating them and stylishly swing across the level with ease. The absolutely insane amount of new enemies introduced in this game do an excellent job at not only immersing you in the brand new kingdom, but also do well at continuously surprising you with how they work. The Flower Kingdom doesn't just feel distinct though. It also looks very distinct because of the direction the team took with the art style and animation in the game. For as long as I can remember, fans have been asking for a 2D Mario that faithfully adopts the style seen in the promotional artwork and manual for the classic 2D Mario games on the NES and SNES. This old artwork showcased such a cartoony and expressive version of Mario and his world that games like Super Mario World tried their very best to capture with the limitations of their graphics, but just weren't able to. But as graphics rapidly improved and Nintendo brought 2D Mario back to home consoles on the Wii, replicating this art style was more than doable. However, was something that the company just wasn't doing for some reason, as they instead chose the bland and basic art style we see in all the new Super Mario Bros. Games. With Wonder, however, it's evident from just one look at this game that not only did Nintendo finally lean into this style, they dove head first into it and created the absolute best looking 2D Mario to date. The animation though is really what carries this style, and brings that classic artwork to life. I mean, just compare this freeze frame of Mario mid-jump to this promotional artwork made for Super Mario Bros. 1 on the NES. It clearly takes direct inspiration from that, and I love it. And when comparing the animations in this game to that of the ones in the new Soup games, the difference is night and day. Little things like Mario going through a pipe that were dead simple and soulless in the new Soup games are so full of life and expression and wonder. The fact that each power-up has its own unique transformation sequence, as opposed to the simple flashing transformation they used to have, just goes to show how committed Nintendo was to bringing the classic Mario art style to life. The way Mario's hat falls over his eyes when performing a ground pound, or how he cowardly hides his face inside his hat when crouching and timidly throws fireballs, does such an amazing job at showing off the character's goofy and expressive personality that was just absent in the new Soup games. The most simple and honestly best way I can describe Wonder's art style and animation is that they make Mario feel like Mario. Sure, Mario's a hero, but he's not the stoic and expressionless type we see in the new Soup games. He's silly, and Wonder shows that off in the best way possible. But enough about art styles, animations, and enemies. Those will never be the core of 2D Mario. The core of these games is and will always be the levels. And with how much wonder already delivers in all those areas I mentioned before, you'd think it maybe struggles a bit in its level design, but fortunately, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Super Mario Bros. Wonder features without a doubt some of the best levels in 2D Mario history. So let's take a look at a few of the best ones, starting off with Piranha Plants on Parade. This level starts off simple enough. You have this cool background section where you go behind the level to collect some coins, you come face to face with walking piranha plants. Simple stuff really. Just introducing concepts you'll see expanded upon later in the game. However, once you reach this stage as Wonderflower, things start to get weird. Whereas the first level caused a wonder effect first-time players who viewed the trailers for the game would expect, where the stage went on crazy acid trip mode and pipes became sentient and started moving, Piranha Plants on Parade somehow manages to do something even weirder than that. The stage becomes an auto-scroller, and, well...
Are they singing? They're singing.
On my first playthrough, this took me by absolute surprise, and I just had the biggest smile on my face the entire time. I can just imagine the team sitting down thinking of ideas, and someone at the table being like, "Hey, what if we had piranha plants perform a musical number in the second stage of the game?" And everyone there just being like, "We are doing this." And while in retrospect, this obviously isn't the most insane thing ever, having this in the second level of the game really drives home to the player that these Wonderflower effects can literally be anything, and that there is no way you can predict what's next, and I love that. Moving on though, we have the stage Outmaway Valley and Fluff Puff Peaks. This level sees you avoiding, burning, and destroying these giant ice blocks that get in your way. There are these little tiny enemies called Outmaways that populate the stage and kick the ice blocks at you. And it's just really fun to ride these ice blocks across the stage or just destroy them to get somewhere. The real fun of this stage though comes from its Wonderflower effect, which sees you trying to stay atop this giant rolling snowball as it absolutely decimates the stage in front of it, even destroying the goal pole and having you go past it in order to find a secret exit. I don't really know what exactly stood out to me in this stage other than the wonder effect of course, but I just found it to be a lot of fun. Messing around with the ice blocks and sliding around the slippery slopes was just overall enjoyable. Speaking of enjoyable though, just look at the level Wubba Ruins in the Fungi Mines. This level sees you navigating through giant blocks of goo that freely allow you to slowly move in all directions when inside of them. I really liked this concept because it's something new and interesting that the game just decided to introduce. Later into the level, you also run into these swamp-like enemies that target you and try to catch you off guard to squish you. But of course though, the star of this level is the Wonderflower effect, which transforms you into a Wubba, allowing you to stick to walls and effortlessly move through the goo blocks. And this isn't the only level that has a Wonderflower effect turning you into an enemy. There are tons of wonder effects that transform you into all types of enemies, and even set pieces sometimes. And it just keeps every level feeling fresh. So yeah, Mario Wonder has some absolutely amazing levels. I mean, I only scratched the surface just recalling some of the ones I remembered the most. But there's one thing that makes the levels in this game even more fun, and actually adds some strategy to them. The badges. You see, as you progress through the game, you'll notice things on the world map that aren't levels, but instead are badge challenges. These badge challenges equip you with a badge that gives you a unique power or move that you didn't have before. There's the parachute cap that allows you to glide down from high places, the dolphin kick that lets you quickly zoom through the water, the crouching high jump which allows you to perform an extra high jump by charging one up while crouching just like in Super Mario Bros. 2, the grappling line that lets you grapple to walls, and a bunch of others. Upon completing a badge challenge, you unlock said badge and be able to use it in any main level moving forward. However, the catch here is that you can only have one badge equipped at a time, meaning that there's actually some strategy in deciding on what badge to use for what level. No pun intended, but this is an absolutely wonderful idea. Okay, pun very intended. Not only does this create strategy like I said before, but it also makes the game that much more interesting. Badges like the Sensor Badge make me want to go back to levels I've already beaten to search for secrets and things I might have missed. The Jet Run Badge makes me want to speedrun levels to see how fast the time I can get. The Invisibility Badge makes me want to challenge myself and see how many levels I can beat without seeing my character. It's just such a genius way to incentivize replaying levels, while also being useful in clearing levels for the first time because they might just give you the edge you need to beat a certain level or boss. I'm sure badges are going to be something we see in every 2D Mario moving forward. They are such a great idea that I'm pretty surprised weren't thought of sooner. One of the things I was most anticipating leading up to the release of Mario Wonder was how they would handle Bowser. I mean, from the trailers, I could tell he would be in this giant floating head thing, but I really wanted to know what the fight with him would be like. Ever since New Super Mario Bros. Wii, final Bowser fights in 2D Marios have always been these giant spectacles. So, what would Mario Wonder's giant spectacle be? Well, instead of the final Bowser fight being the main spectacle, the entire final world is just one giant show put on by Bowser. Every level here is framed as some sort of challenge Bowser's created for Mario, with an audience of enemies cheering you on in the background. These levels in and of themselves aren't really anything special. I mean, they're cool, but a lot of their charm comes from the fact that they're staged as this big show. The final level, however, is one of the absolute coolest 2D Mario levels I have ever played, and easily the best final Bowser level in the series. It starts off with Bowser Jr. threatening to finally finish you off, before subsequently defeating himself. In the wake of defeating himself though, Bowser Jr. turns the whole level into one giant mishmash of wonder effects you've seen all throughout your playthrough. It's so cool to see all these effects combined together, because it shows just how much wonder power Bowser has in this giant head castle, and honestly creates some really fun moments. For example, there's this one part where the singing piranha plants return and start singing the stage's theme, before it quickly transitions into this ghostly Halloween theme where King Boo appears and starts singing the theme himself. The end of this level though is where the fun really starts. You're peacefully and silently floating through the air with no gravity, before slowly a loud crowd cheer starts fading in and you make your way into this giant arena where you ride these inchworm pipes to the main stage. Here and only here, it's revealed to you that instead of fighting Bowser himself, you're instead fighting a Wonderflower-ified version of him, who's turned himself into a giant head of himself, but you know, just not as giant as the head of himself you're already on? Yeah, this dude's obsessed with his head. This final fight is rhythm-based, as the whole premise of this fight is that Bowser is performing a song for all his troops. You have to time your jumps with the beat of the song in order to get enough height to smack Bowser right in the chin and slowly damage his head. This fight is amazing for a lot of reasons. For one, it's original. This is not an idea we've seen in any Bowser fight ever. The use of rhythm is really on brand for the character, especially after his characterization in the Mario movie. 2, it's fun. The whole vibe here and gameplay of the fight had me smiling the whole way through. I wasn't all that challenged, but it didn't matter. I was having fun with the fight because it was well thought out and original. And finally 3, it's satisfying. Timing your jumps with the beat and smashing Bowser's chin in feels so good. And nothing beats the final ground pound after destroying the bricks surrounding him, bringing an explosive end to a wonderful game. Being one of, if not the most iconic character in all of gaming, with a backlog of games that are highly regarded to be some of the greatest of all time, mainline Mario games have a lot to live up to. Fortunately though, Super Mario Bros. Wonder not only lives up to those incredibly high standards, it goes above them. This game completely blew my expectations out of the water. Every hour of my playthrough, I was continuously shocked and surprised at just how much love and care was put into every aspect of it. You have the art style and animation which brings the world to life in the most beautiful way possible. Every movement and action your character makes looks and feels so great. The level design is superb, even discounting the wonder effects. These levels have so many interesting concepts that always kept me engaged and wondering what was next. And then factoring in the wonder effects, you get without a doubt some of the most fun and creative 2D Mario stages ever crafted. And whether it be singing piranha plants, stars falling from the sky, running on walls, floating through space, or rolling around as a giant spiky rock, the game is always pushing the boundaries of what we thought 2D Mario was, and I adore it for that. Nintendo did such a good job at making one of the most classic and simple Mario series feel fresh again after all this time. For years, other games have continuously showed up 2D Mario and proved how far they could push 2D platforming, and in turn created better experiences. But with Wonder, Nintendo was done with the pioneer of the genre being beaten out by series that wouldn't even exist if it weren't for Mario, and put in all their effort to create the most creative, engaging, and fun 2D platformer I have ever played. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is an absolute masterpiece.